And it's not just in Ireland where we are seeing large numbers of young people emigrating to brighter shores. For more, we are joined by Garret Martin. He is the editor-at-large at European Institute, a public policy forum on transatlantic relations, and he's also a professor at the American University and George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Garret, thank you for joining us tonight. You know, what's interesting about this story is that for so long, Europe has been a magnet for people looking to improve their lives, and now we're seeing that at least among the youth in Europe, they're having to look beyond their borders, beyond the continent, for opportunities. Where are they going to find those opportunities?
Well, certainly a number of young Europeans are going to, the United States or Canada, Australia. Specifically, since you're mentioning a lot of Ireland, many of them are going to those places because of the language facilitation. But also, we have to remember that a lot of the Europeans are also moving within the EU to other countries with sort of better economic prospects, like Germany, for example.
And Garret, what kind of workers are they? I mean, we're seeing that a lot of them are young, probably just out of college. Are we looking at high-skilled workers here or low-skilled workers that are leaving their own countries?
Well, generally speaking, I would say they would tend to be highly skilled workers because they would have the sort of marketable skills that would be of interest, that would be of appeal to the countries that they're trying to move to. So that's generally the trend, at least.
And are they finding real career-enhancing jobs abroad, or is this really a situation where they say to themselves, look, I can't find a job in my own country, might as well go abroad and at least have an interesting experience, whether or not this really does something for my resume? Or is this really going to help them in the long run?
Well, no, I think, in an increasingly global and interdependent, world economy, I think it's very useful for these sort of young Europeans who may not have great opportunities at home to be able to have an international career. I don't think that's going to help them. They may also be thinking of going to, the United States, Canada, or Australia, and maybe thinking of staying there for a few years. But, it's we've seen in many respects that they end up settling there because they enjoy the lifestyle or they get better career opportunities, or because the opportunities at home are still not improved as well.
And for the countries that they're leaving from, is this exodus really a positive or a negative? Because on the one hand, it means that there are fewer people who will need assistance. On the other hand, you could look at it from the perspective of a brain drain. So how are these countries reacting to the fact that their youngest are leaving for opportunities elsewhere?
Well, I think it can be a very serious problem because the countries which are losing young people are generally the countries that have been the hardest hit by the crisis. So that can sort of exacerbate the problem in many respects. Moreover, as well, it's a fact that, how can I say it? These, it's also likely that they're not going to want to come back as well. So there's a bit of a vicious circle as well involved.
And so overall, though, is this something that European countries should be concerned about? Is this something that you expect will last for quite a while, that we'll see this phenomenon of the youngest and brightest leaving their shores for other countries?
Yes, I think so, because, to be honest, there's not much that governments can do short of actually improving the domestic situation. I mean, governments can restrict, they can limit who enters the country, but in most cases, they can't really, limit or stop people from leaving. So I think that's likely to be an enduring problem, unfortunately.
So long as their economy is suffering in Europe. Now, how is the response of the populace in the countries that are bringing in these new immigrants? Are they welcoming them, or do they see them as a threat?
Well, there's generally a correlation. I mean, when the economic context is not good, when the domestic economy is not thriving, there generally, unfortunately, tends to be a backlash against immigration, and that's generally that's a serious problem. If the economy is doing okay, then people might be more willing to sort of look away or to sort of not pay too much attention to the problem.
All right, thank you so much, Garret. That was Garret Martin, editor-at-large at European Institute and professor at American University and George Washington University. He joined us from Washington, D.C.